Starting down on our mats, feet hip distance apart and hands behind the thighs, we take the exhale breath to curl and round through the spine. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, curl, tucking the chin, feeling that stretch. And inhale, lengthen and grow through the spine, lifting the heart space. On the next one, find that nice curl and round. Release the hands and start to make your way all the way down to the mat with control, ready to start for our abdominals. Let's bring the heels in close to the glutes now and extend the arms overhead. Extend the left leg out long in front. And on the exhale breath, we're bringing the thigh and hands back towards the center and inhale, lengthening. You can stay here with this, or on the next breath, exhale and curl and round the head, neck and shoulders towards the thigh. Floating our ribs towards our hips, lifting through the pelvic floor, wrapping deeper abdominals. Try to find length through the arms, fingertips and toes, and finding just that slight tuck of the chin. Getting ready to hold the curl on this next one. Find pause and lift through the abdominals to find that extra little curl. Reach through the fingers. Exhale breath, float those shoulders. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well done, guys. We're now going to cross the leg over the thigh. If this is an uncomfortable position for you, you can slide the legs closer together so that the knees are in contact with one another. Imprinting the spine and floating the leg to tabletop, we start to tap the toe down to the front end of the mat. Remembering we always want to maintain that connection to the mat in our imprinted spine, and we shouldn't be finding any space or arc between the lower back and the floor. Use your inhale breath to lower to the mat and exhale to draw it back up to center. Keep floating the ribs towards the hips and maintain that deeper abdominal pelvic floor connection. Taking the hands now behind the head, we're going to find a tabletop position here. Exhale, curl, tapping now both toes down towards the mat. Exhale, curl. If this is too much for you, you can opt to bring the feet to rest on the mat, or you could always tap one toe at a time. Getting ready to hold our next curl, we're going to start to find that twist of the left armpit towards the right knee. Peeling that shoulder blade right up and off the floor and keeping that nice imprinted spine. Option to bring the feet back down to the mat. Let's try to keep our elbows nice and wide, finishing out the exercise nice and strong. And releasing down, hugging the knees back into the chest. Getting ready now to repeat the exercise on the other side. So arms extend overhead, and this time our right leg extends out in front. Remember, option to stay here on your mat as you bring the thigh and arms back towards the center. Or on the next breath, we find that exhale curl, floating head, neck and shoulders off the mat. Maintaining rib to hip connection, lifting through that pelvic floor and wrapping those deeper abdominals. Find length through fingers and toes, and length through the back of the neck with that slight tuck of the chin. Getting ready on our next one to find that hold and pulse, really floating those shoulder blades up and off that mat. Exhale, curling a little bit higher, really lifting those shoulder blades up and off that mat. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome work, guys. Let's cross that leg over the thigh, and remember you can slide the legs closer together. Float up to that tabletop position, imprinting the spine. Let's tap the toes down towards the front of the mat, trying to find that length whilst maintaining connection to our mat. Inhale to lower, exhale drawing it back. Ribs to hips and relaxing through the neck and shoulders. Getting ready to find that final tap before taking the hands behind the head. Bringing it back into that tabletop position and find that exhale curl. Tapping the toes down towards the end of your mat and coming back up. Remember, option to bring the feet flat to the floor and just focus on a normal abdominal curl. Getting ready to hold our curl on the next one and find that rotation. This time taking the right armpit towards the left knee, up and over, peeling that shoulder blade up and off the mat and floating our ribs towards the hips, keeping our elbows nice and wide. Let's find our final push here. Oblique curls side to side now, exhaling, peeling one shoulder blade off the mat, then the other, ribs to hips, and using that exhale breath. Remember, you can bring the feet to mat here. Almost there, guys. Use that breath and release. Well done. Go ahead and take a nice, well-deserved stretch by taking the arms and legs out nice and long, taking that nice deep breath and exhale through the mouth. Coming on up now, we're going to come onto our side, stack the shoulders, hips and knees, lifting underneath that waist side. On the exhale breath, we drive our hips to ceiling. Inhale, exhale, lift that top leg. So you want to really cinch into the side of the waist here, keeping the legs nice and stacked. And as we come back down to mat, that top leg lifts with that activation of our glute. Let's use the breath to drive the hips high, pressing the floor away. In just a moment, we're going to get ready to extend that top leg out nice and long. Toe comes to floor and hand comes behind the back of the head. We take an inhale breath, exhale, rotate, elbow drops to floor. Inhale, exhale, lift that top leg. We want to make sure here that we're staying nice and lifted underneath that rib cage. And as we take that exhale to lift the leg, that we're getting it to a nice hip height and in line with our body. Keeping our hips nice and stacked and making sure that the shoulder and elbow are also staying in a nice square alignment. Last one before we find a pause at the top. And we're going to extend that arm nice and long overhead, really lift underneath the rib cage and pulse that leg nice and high. Squeeze those glutes, final little burn. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well done, guys. Let's make our way now to a 4-point kneel. So stacking our wrists under shoulders and knees under hips, finding our nice neutral spine and lengthening through the back of the neck. Let's flex the left foot now and get ready for our donkey kicks. We want to stamp that foot right up to ceiling, getting the thigh nice and parallel to floor and bringing the heel back in towards the bottom to really activate through the glute and back of the leg. Let's try to center the weight, square the hips, and remember, shift that weight back into your supporting leg if you're feeling that heavy loading through the shoulders and the wrists. And of course, it wouldn't be my series if we didn't add some extra little pulses at the top. So let's stamp it up, keeping that thigh nice and parallel, really squeeze the base of the glute here. Final pulses, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's point the toe now and extend through the leg. Heel comes back in towards the bottom. Keep lifting through the tummy now, squaring everything to your mat. We want to keep that thigh nice and still, nice and parallel, and just finding the extension out from the knee. And you've guessed it, find that hold for those final little pulses, find that squeeze, smile of the glute. In 4, in 3, in 2, and 1. You're going to come down onto your right forearm and square the hand. Slight little rotation as we drive the knee towards the elbow. Keep nice and lifted through the tummy here and extend that leg nice and long back behind you. So remember, we're finding the knee to the outside elbow, drive the leg back and in line with the body. Try to keep it at the hip height. Final 2 here. I know your glutes are on fire. Let's hold it here and take those little pulses. Finish it off. Final little burn. Tummy nice and tight. In 4, in 3, in 2, and 1. Well done, guys. Sit it back. And now we get to do it all again on the other side, which I know you're all super excited about. So let's get ourselves set up here. Elbow underneath shoulder, knees, ankles, hips all nice and stacked, and really find that lift underneath the rib cage. Nice big inhale, abdominals nice and tight. Exhale, drive those hips up towards the ceiling. Inhale, exhale, lift the top leg. Remember, we really want to cinch into that waist, press the floor away, and use that breath to help you really get up nice and high. On this next one, we find that nice leg extension, toe comes to floor and hand goes behind the head. We take the inhale breath, exhale, twist and let the elbow drop down towards the mat. Inhale, lift back up, exhale, top leg floats. Finding that nice rotation through the top half of the body. Exhale, squeeze that glute to lift the leg. Just remember, we're trying to get it to the hip height, back in line with the body. And we're always maintaining that lift underneath the rib cage so that we're not dropping down towards the mat and sinking through our shoulder. Let's get ready to catch the leg at the top, ready for our pulses, extending that top arm and really squeezing the glute to get that leg a little bit higher each time, lifting through that tummy and coming back down to rest. Coming back around to our 4-point kneel, stacking the wrists underneath the shoulders and the knees under the hips. We're going to flex the left foot this time. Remember, we want to really drive that heel up towards the ceiling, keeping those abdominals nice and lifted as we do so, keeping hips and shoulders square to the mat and our thigh as parallel to the floor as possible. Remember to shift the weight back into the supporting leg if you're feeling that loading through the shoulders and the wrists. Getting ready to find our pulses here on this next one and squeezing from the base of the glute, stamping that foot to ceiling. In 4, in 3, in 2, in 1, and we get ready to point the foot. Finding that nice leg extension, keeping the thigh nice and still and parallel to the mat, and just extending out from the knee. Tummy nice and tight, relaxing the shoulders down and back. Getting ready to hold the leg on the next one to find those pulses. Let's squeeze into the smile of the glute, lift through that tummy, press that leg up towards the ceiling. You're going to come down onto that left forearm and square the hand. Take that slight rotation of the hip and knee comes in towards the outside of the elbow and extending the leg back up and in line with the body at the hip height. Let's focus on the lift of the tummy. Press the floor away, lifting up and out of that shoulder and squeezing into that glute as you extend the leg behind you. Try to keep the thigh nice and open as the knee comes to the outside of the elbow. Getting ready to hold that leg up for me and find those final little pulses, final little burn. We're almost there. Squeeze, 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 and coming back down. Well done, guys. A really challenging glute series there. So have a nice, well-deserved stretch out before coming up and around onto our backs for a nice glute stretch. Taking that right leg up and over, reaching through and relaxing down onto that mat. Really breathe into that space. And then when you're ready, you can switch it out for the other side. Going to take some nice circles, massaging the spine, and feel free to take anything else that feels good for you before we head into our second series. In a seated position, we're just going to find some nice circles here. So imagine sort of stirring a pot with a spoon. So we want to come forward on the inhale breath. On the exhale breath, curl and round through the spine. So it should feel a really nice fluid movement. And then you reverse it back the other way. So inhale, really press the chest forward. Exhale, curl and round through the spine as you come back. So just taking your time here with finding this. Do as many as you'd like one way before reversing it back the other, just to find a nice stretch through the spine before we head back into our series. So we're going to come back into that 4-point kneel position, so stacking the wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, and just trying to find that nice neutral position. We're going to find a nice inhale breath and exhale, curl, lift through the tummy, tuck the toes and find a little lift of the knees off the floor. Inhale, lift the chest, draw the shoulders down. Exhale, curl, lift through the tummy and lift the knees off the mat. So just finding a couple here in your own time, using the breath and really drawing through the abdominals to pull the knees away from the mat. Finding your last one, and we're going to come back down and extend that right leg nice and long behind us. Finding a nice drawing of the thigh in towards the chest and extending the leg back out. Really find the scoop of the abdominals and then that nice long extension through the spine. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, curl and round. We have 3 more. Using that breath, finding that extension. Remember, tummy stays engaged. We don't want to dip and arch through the back here. And then I want you to find a nice strong hold, really lift through the tummy and float the left arm beside the ear. Find length here from the fingertips to the toes. We're going to get ready to come down onto our forearms and extend that right leg back out behind us once more, getting ready for our rainbows. Lift through the tummy, squeeze through the glute as we take the leg across, lift, squeeze through center and tap out to the side. Remember, we want to keep the abdominals nice and engaged here and squeezing through that glute, avoiding any rocking and rolling of those hips. Keep pressing the floor away and drawing the shoulders down and back. Getting ready to finish it out, we bring the legs back down, tuck the toes and press back up to our downward facing dog. Really find that nice extension through the back, drive the heels down before returning to your 4-point kneel, and this time we'll be extending that left leg out behind us, ready to repeat. So nice lift and exhale, driving the thigh in towards the chest. Inhale, extend nice and long. Again here, we're really focusing on shifting the weight to center and back into our supporting leg. Really using the tummy here to drive the thigh forward and find length through the back of the leg as we squeeze the glute. Finding a nice strong hold and floating the arm right next to the ear. Keep reaching through the fingertips and toes, and then returning back down to your mat, onto the forearms and ready for our rainbows. So again, extending that left leg, squeeze the glute, tap across, inhale and exhale, tap out to the side. Again, keep lifted through the tummy, pressing the floor away and squeezing that glute to lift the leg back up through the center. Finding that last tap, and then we're going to tuck the toe under, press back into our plank, holding here nice and strong. Final little burn. 4, 3, 2 and 1. You can drop the knees down and press back up to your downward facing dog. Awesome work, guys. Coming back down now, we're coming all the way onto our tummies. So bringing the arms out to that 90-degree angle and engaging through the tummy, we inhale and lift up through that upper part of the back before returning the forehead down to the mat. So again, really thinking about the lift in the tummy first before pulling away from the mat. Really drawing the shoulder blades down and back and finding length through the spine rather than crunching into the lower back. Now folding the arms over one another, we're going to lift the left leg up, flex the foot and kick the heel in towards the bottom twice before extending nice and long and returning to mat, followed by the right leg, heel into bottom, extend nice and long. Option to rest the forehead back down on the hands, and let's work to keep the tummy switched on as we flex the heel in towards that glute, keeping those thighs nice and lifted away from that mat. Final 2 here. Last one, and resting back down onto your mat. Taking the hands now and interlocking the fingers behind the back, take an inhale breath and lengthen through the spine as you lift the chest away from the floor. Option to take the legs and float them away from the mat. If this is too strong for you, you can always choose to do a Superman pose, holding here nice and strong and resting down to the mat. Press all the way back now. Just release any tension through that back. If you need to flip your palms to the ceiling as well, feel free to do so. Coming into our final exercise, we find a half push-up position, tuck the toes under. We send it down to the mat, and as we press the floor away, we rotate onto the side, pressing up into a side plank. Drop the knees down, elbows skim the ribs, rotate onto the outside of the foot, press the hips high. Now you can modify this exercise as I will demonstrate in this next one by just extending that top arm and finding that rotation. So it will be down to the mat and inhale, lengthen, lift the arm. Otherwise, continue here with the press And as you roll over onto the outside of the foot, pressing those hips high to find that nice stacked side plank. Last one here. And then we're going to hold that nice high plank position, really lifting the tummy, pressing that floor away, finding that strength. Remember, option to always drop the knees here. And then we're going to come back down, find a little moment of relief, and you've got it. We're going to do it all again on that second side. So remember, I've also got the options there to modify the exercise. Otherwise, tuck those toes, press those hips high, and let's finish out this series nice and strong. Really challenging exercise here, guys. Working those shoulders, working those abs. Really challenge yourself if you can. Beautiful work. Here's the modified version again, once more if you're following that. Skim the elbows to the ribs. Let's find the last one, right down, skim the ribs and rotate, press those hips high. We come back around into that high plank, last little bit, stay with me, use that breath. You've been absolute superstars, and release. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Well done.